My parents yelled, "We're done raising your mistake. Get out and never come back." Then threw me and my 5-year-old into a snowstorm. 3 hours later, a knock came at their door. When they opened it, they screamed. The words sliced through me. "We are done raising your mistake. Get out and never come back." My own parents. They threw me and my terrified 5-year-old daughter out into a raging snowstorm. 3 hours later, a frantic knock echoed through their house, and when they opened the door, pure panic exploded. If you're sitting there wondering how a spilled glass of orange juice turned into a nightmare of homelessness, trust me, I was too. It was almost 11 p.m., the house dead quiet, but outside, the snow was a raging blizzard, lashing sideways like it had a personal vendetta against everything. My 5-year-old, Zoe, couldn't sleep. She wasn't just a toddler anymore. She had opinions, questions, and an emotional range that would rival a CEO facing corporate betrayal. "I don't like the wind," she whispered, her eyes wide and scared in the dark. "It's just weather." I tried to reassure her, as if nature cared about logic. I scooped her up, tiptoeing down the hall. Waking my parents at night was like prodding a sleeping bear. You just knew you'd get mauled. This house was always tense, even when silent. It was the kind of quiet that felt like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for me to mess up. I tried to be invisible, to do everything perfectly, to shrink myself into nothingness. We made it to the kitchen. I flicked on the smallest light, just enough to navigate. I moved like a thief in my own home, pouring Zoe a tiny cup of orange juice, a small, harmless solution I hoped would soothe her. But the moment that light clicked on, everything changed. Footsteps crashed down the stairs. A door upstairs creaked open. A heavy sigh, dripping with disgust, like I'd committed a cardinal sin just by needing to breathe. My mom appeared at the top of the stairs, her voice razor-sharp, cutting through the silence. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her tone not about the moment, but about me. "Zoe couldn't sleep," I whispered, trying to explain. Then Savannah, my 17-year-old sister, materialized, hair wild, face already contorted in irritation. She squinted at Zoe as if my daughter were a particularly annoying insect. "Are you kidding me?" Savannah hissed. "Some of us actually have school. Some of us have plans." I apologized automatically. It was the family religion. Apologize first, explain never. "I'm sorry," I mumbled. "We'll be quick." Savannah, arms folded, stepped further into the kitchen, her voice unnervingly calm, as if she'd rehearsed this. "Can you please just keep it down? It's late." Zoe's small hands were trembling. She reached for the cup. Her fingers slipped. The cup tipped. Orange juice. A crimson splash against the pale carpet. One beat of silence. Just one. My brain screamed into overdrive. "Fix it. Towels. Paper towels. Anything. It's just juice. Not acid. Not blood." But Dad's heavy footsteps thudded down the stairs, making the old wood groan. Mom gasped, a dramatic sound that implied the house itself had been stabbed. Savannah's face went utterly cold, disgusted. "Are you serious?" I dropped to my knees, fumbling for towels. "It's okay. It's fine. I'll fix it," I blurted, my voice small and desperate, as if making myself tiny enough could prevent the pain. Zoe's lip trembled. "I'm sorry. It's okay," I whispered to her, tears blurring my vision. "Baby, it's okay." But Dad moved with a chilling finality, like he'd been waiting for this moment his entire life, waiting for orange juice to give him permission. "I'm done," he declared. "I'm done with this." My mom immediately echoed him, her voice laced with venom. "This house is not a daycare. We are sick of your mess. I'll clean it," I pleaded. "It was an accident. She's 5. Savannah, ever the arsonist, threw another match on the fire. She can't even control her own kid." Dad's eyes fixed on Zoe for half a second, not seeing a child, but evidence. Then he said it, all of it, in one clean hit, a sentence that had clearly been festering on his tongue for years. "We are done raising your mistake. Get out and never come back." My brain stalled. What do you do with that? How do you process someone calling your child a mistake? A fact, a permanent stain. I stared up from the floor, towels still clutched in my hands, orange juice seeping into the carpet like a crime scene. "Dad." My voice was a distant whisper. "It's snowing. It's a storm. Where are we supposed to?" "I don't care," he cut me off. Mom wouldn't even look at me. Her gaze was fixed on the carpet, as if it were the true victim. I kept thinking, they don't mean it. They'll cool down. Any second now, someone will stop this. Any second, Mom will sigh and say, Fine, just tonight. Any second, Dad will come to his senses. Nobody stopped it. Dad moved with practiced efficiency, grabbing bags as if he'd rehearsed this 1,000 times. Mom yanked Zoe's small coat off a hook and shoved it at me. Then, with a chilling twist, Dad pulled my house key off my keyring. He curled it tightly in his fist. These aren't yours anymore. The air left my lungs. Just let us stay tonight, I begged, desperation clawing at my throat. Please, I'll sleep in the car in the driveway. You will not, Savannah interjected, her voice tight with cold satisfaction. You're not staying here. Mom remained silent, averted her eyes. Savannah watched, too calm, too pleased. Dad wrenched the door open. The frigid air punched into the hallway like a physical blow. Snow swirled sideways, dancing in. Zoe whimpered, pressing herself against my leg, small and terrified. They pushed us out, like trash, like something to be discarded. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. It wasn't the shouting that shattered me. It was that small, final, utterly damning sound. Zoe began to cry immediately, gut-wrenching, body-shaking sobs. She looked at the orange stain on her sleeve and whispered, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I crouched, wiping her cheeks, fighting a desperate battle to hold myself together. No, I choked out. No, baby. Never your fault. Do you hear me? Never. Inside my head, pure panic screamed. No plan. No one. I have a child. The harsh porch light glared down on us, like we were on display. I hauled the bags to my beat-up car, my one tiny sliver of independence, and buckled Zoe in. My hands shook so violently, I fumbled the latch. Phone battery, low. Bank account, a joke. The kind of money that vanishes the moment you even look at it. My mind raced, searching for names to call. But it was late, storming, and everyone I knew had warm homes they didn't want complicated. So I started the car. Sitting still felt like dying. I aimed for anywhere with lights, heat, a cheap motel, a 24-hour diner. Anywhere that wouldn't ask questions, wouldn't kick us out for being too sad. The road was treacherous, the snow blinding. My windshield wipers fought a losing battle. Zoe sniffled in the back. Where are we going? She asked, her voice fragile. I answered too brightly, because mothers lie to keep the world from collapsing. An adventure, I chirped. Zoe didn't laugh. I was so focused on keeping the car straight, I didn't see the headlights until... wham! An intersection. Ice. A blur. Another car skidded. The impact stole the air from my lungs. Zoe screamed. A single, sharp sound that fractured into agonizing sobs. My world narrowed to her. Just her. I twisted around, hands shaking, scanning her face, her arms, her legs. Talk to me, baby. I forced out, trying to keep my voice steady. Look at me. Are you hurt? Where do you hurt? She shook her head fiercely, crying, I'm scared. I scanned again anyway. Her cheeks, her hands, her coat. No blood, nothing visibly broken, just pure, loud fear. Then, a woman approached through the swirling snow. Her movements were steady, controlled. No panic in her stride. She looked into my back seat, saw Zoe's tear-streaked face, saw the bags piled beside her, saw the whole damn picture. She didn't bark at me. She didn't accuse. She didn't even seem angry. Why are you out in this weather with a 5-year-old? She asked, her voice quiet. I tried to lie. I couldn't. We got kicked out, I heard myself say. Tonight. Her face subtly changed, as if struck by my words. What's your name? She asked. Clara. I managed. Her eyes flicked to my face, like she was checking it against a memory she hoped wasn't true. Then, very quietly, almost to herself, she murmured, Clara Walker. I froze. How did she know my last name? I haven't seen you since. She paused, catching herself. You were in my... Where did you go? I learned early that my role in that house wasn't daughter. It was buffer. Savannah cried. My parents soothed. I achieved. My parents nodded and moved on. If Savannah was upset, the universe stopped. If I was upset, I was told to be mature. I learned to shrink because taking up space always cost me. I didn't know why they needed a villain until the year I got pregnant. Before that, I had a path. A real one. Sophomore year, I got into a selective state university mentorship program for high-achieving high school students. It wasn't just sitting in a lecture and politely clapping. It was real work. Data collection, presentations, reports. The whole this could be your life someday thing. And built into it, the part that made me feel like a person with a future. A weekly, one-on-one mentor meeting. 15 minutes that felt like oxygen, with someone who asked me what I wanted, not what I'd done wrong. I kept one thing from that program, a small blue lanyard with my Future Scholars badge. I never wore it again, but I never threw it away. Back then, I thought my life was finally opening up. Then I fell for Brendan. Brendan was sweet when things were easy and distant when they got real. He made me feel chosen after a lifetime of being merely tolerated. So yes, I fell hard. Like a cliche, like a girl who'd been starving for affection and mistook attention for love. When I found out I was pregnant, my first thought wasn't fear. It was, I can still do this. I can still finish school, still do the program, still be me. I was 15. Brendan was 17. He promised he'd be there, then stopped replying. I later learned he moved away for college in Europe. Haven't heard much from him since. I thought the hardest part would be telling my parents. I was wrong. I told them in the kitchen, my hands shaking so violently I could barely speak. There was a pause, just long enough for a sliver of hope to flicker. Then my mother's face changed. Not anger, disgust. My father didn't ask if I was okay. He asked, who knows? They didn't say, how can we help? They said things like, do you know what people will think? You've embarrassed us. You've thrown your future away. Savannah watched, like it was entertainment, like it proved everything she'd ever believed about me. I expected punishment. I didn't expect erasure. They decided I wouldn't go back to school for a while. Then it became homeschooling. Then it became, you're not going back at all. They claimed it was to avoid gossip, to keep the family respected, to not parade my shame around, as if my body was a billboard and my baby a scandal. They pushed me to drop the mentorship program immediately. No more Saturdays. No more meetings. No more future. I tried to fight. I tried to bargain. Just let me finish the semester. My father's voice was cold. If you weren't smart enough to avoid getting pregnant, you're not smart enough for college. And that was that. The program moved on without me. I stopped showing up. I stopped answering calls. The worst part, I didn't even get to say goodbye. Zoe was born, and I loved her so fiercely it scared me. But in that house, love didn't protect you. It just gave them another target. My parents treated Zoe like noise, like a mess, an inconvenience. Never fully cruel in public, always cruel in private. Savannah got a normal teen life, sleepovers, school, friends. I got exhaustion and constant reminders that I owed my parents for letting me stay. I promised my daughter she was never a mistake. And then, 5 years later, she spilled orange juice. Back in the car, my mouth was still open, the unspoken question hanging in the freezing air. Zoe's small voice came from behind me. Mommy, are we going home? My hands locked around the steering wheel, as if it could magically fix everything. We're going somewhere warm, I said, because that's what you say when you don't have a home and your kid is 5. Outside my window, the woman, this stranger, didn't look angry. She looked alert, scanning for the next disaster. She leaned just enough so Zoe could see her face, her eyes quickly checking Zoe, her seatbelt, her cheeks, her hands, checking, not lingering. Then she looked at me. Is she hurt? No, I said too fast. I don't think so. She's just scared. Zoe made a small, broken sound that confirmed it. The woman nodded once. Okay. My heart was still trying to climb out of my chest. Snow hissed across the glass. I'm sorry. I blurted again. I didn't see you. I was... She cut through my panic, calm and steady, like she'd heard it all before. It's a bumper, she said. Don't worry about it. I stared at her. Most people worry about bumpers. Entire neighborhood feuds have started over less. I hit you, I insisted, because my brain desperately needed reality acknowledged. It needed someone to be mad, so the world made sense. You misjudged in a storm, she corrected. That happens. Then, as if changing channels, she asked, how old is she? 5. Her expression tightened. Not at me. Not at the dent. At the 5. She looked at Zoe again. Hi, sweetheart. What's your name? Zoe hesitated, looking at me for permission. Zoe, I said for her. Her name is Zoe. The woman nodded. Hi, Zoe. I'm Simona. Then she looked back at me. Clara, where were you headed? A motel? I said, the words sounding utterly pathetic. And after that? She asked. My throat tightened. I don't know. She didn't judge. She didn't pity. She just waited, as if she knew. The truth was right there and didn't need to be chased. I swallowed. My voice came out small. My parents kicked us out, I said. Tonight. Something shifted in Simona's face. Not surprise, more like anger deciding where to land. In this weather? She asked, her voice dangerously quiet. I nodded. Zoe made a small whimper behind me, as if she understood enough to be scared. Simona exhaled through her nose. Then she said, very calmly, like she'd made a decision that didn't require my permission, Okay, you're not driving anywhere else tonight. I have to. I argued automatically. I don't have. I heard you, she said. You don't have anywhere. That's why you're not driving. She stepped back from my window and pointed to a small parking lot nearby. Hazards on, she instructed. Pull into that lot slow. I'll follow you. My pride tried to sit up, as if it still had rights, but Zoe whispered, Mommy. And my pride sat back down immediately. I flicked my hazards on and eased the car into the lot with the delicate precision of someone defusing a bomb. Simona parked behind me. She got out, took 2 quick photos of the bumpers and the intersection, then tucked her phone away as if she'd filed the whole incident into a drawer labeled later. I got out and the cold bit into me so hard it stole my breath. I'm really sorry, I said again, because I guess I was committed to that particular brand of self-blame. It's fine, she said, her eyes already on Zoe through the glass. Is her car seat secure? Yes. Good. Then she looked at me. Do you have your keys? My car key, yes, I said. My house key? No. He took it. Her jaw tightened just a fraction. Okay. She didn't say more. She walked to her back door, opened it, and pulled out a blanket. Not a dramatic prop, just matter of fact, like she kept one because life happens. She spread the blanket across the back seat and opened the door. Hey, she said softly. Come sit here. We're getting warm. Zoe stared, then looked at me. I nodded. It's okay, baby. She climbed in, her small coat clutched tight, and her breathing finally slowed. I grabbed our bags from my car. My fingers fumbled the zipper. I dropped one, of course. Simona picked it up and handed it to me without making it a moment. Lock your car, she said. I did. That click felt too small, too insignificant for the nightmare we were living. Then I slid into the front seat of Simona's car, my heart still trying to climb out of my throat. As we drove, my brain tried to catch up. It finally remembered the things she'd said at the crash. Quiet, exact, Walker. I didn't ask. Zoe was right behind us, listening, and I couldn't risk the answer being something she'd carry. Simona drove in calm silence for a minute, then asked, Do you have any friends you can call? I stared at the dashboard. No. No explanation, no excuses. Just no. She nodded once. Okay, that word again. Okay, like it was a fact. Not a failure. We pulled up to a modest house with warm lights. Nothing flashy, nothing cold, just stable. Inside, the heat wrapped around us so suddenly, my eyes stung. Zoe sagged under the blanket the moment the door shut, like her body had been holding itself together on pure fear. Simona disappeared for 30 seconds and came back with thick socks and a mug of hot chocolate that smelled like it had actual effort in it. Zoe blinked up at her. Are you nice? She asked, because 5-year-olds have no filter. Simona paused, choosing her words carefully. I'm trying, she said. Is that okay? Zoe looked at me. I nodded, my throat tight. Yeah, baby. Simona turned to me. Sit. I sat on the edge of the couch, still in my coat, still braced for yelling that never came. The house was quiet. Soft lamps, books, a neat stack of mail. One coat on a hook, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel like a trap. My hands wouldn't stop trembling, so I opened my bag just to give them something to do. And there, peeking out, was the blue Future Scholars lanyard. My face went hot. Of course I still had it, like some embarrassing souvenir from a life I didn't get to live. I shoved it down fast, as if hiding it would hide the fact that I used to be someone with a plan. Simona's eyes flicked to it anyway. She didn't say anything, but she went still, just for a beat. Then she stepped into the light by the kitchen doorway, and my brain finally did the thing it should have done earlier. Her posture, her voice, the way she looked at me like I mattered. My stomach dropped. No, I whispered. Her expression softened. Sadness, maybe, or relief. Or both. It's me, she said quietly. Dr. Carr. The room tilted. Dr. Simona Carr. My mentor. 5 years ago. The one adult who'd looked at me like I had a future instead of a flaw. Zoe yawned and slid sideways against the couch cushion, too tired to notice my entire brain combusting. Dr. Carr kept her voice low. Where did you go? I tried to make it small. Life happened. She waited. Not pressure. Space. And the truth came out in rough pieces. Pregnant at 15, pulled out of school, homeschool, no diploma, no program, no goodbye. Year stuck. Tonight's lockout. I waited for the look, the disgust, the disappointment. It didn't come. She nodded once, slow. Then she asked, What's still in that house that you need? My wallet, I said automatically. Zoe's school papers. I stopped, because my brain finally caught up. My EpiPen, I said. Shellfish allergy. I tried to shrug it off, like it wasn't a big deal, like I wasn't one cross-contamination away from a nightmare.
Dr. Carr didn't let me.
No, she said. Quiet and absolute. We're not gambling with that. I'm not going back there. Of course you don't, she said. We'll get what you need. She slid a notepad toward me. Essentials now. My pen moved.
EpiPen.
Wallet. Zoe's school papers. Anything with our names on it. Dr. Carr called non-emergency. I caught fragments. Lockout. Minor child. Emergency medication.
Civil standby.
Avoid confrontation. Then my phone lit up.
Dad.
Then Mom. I stared at the screen for half a second too long. Dr. Carr stayed close, silent. I answered. Hello. My dad shouted immediately. What did you do? We had police at our door in the middle of the night. Mom cut in, furious. How dare you call police on your own parents? Do you know how this looks? My throat tightened. The old reflex, apologize, shrink, try to climb up my spine. I looked at Zoe, curled up on the couch, finally asleep. I called because I needed my EpiPen, I said, my voice steady, surprising even myself. That's it, Dad scoffed. Always a story. I'm hanging up, I said. They talked over each other, louder, uglier. I hit end.
Click.
Later, an officer brought back the essentials. My EpiPen, my wallet, Zoe's forms. He took a brief statement. What happened? Are we safe? Is Zoe safe? When the door closed again, the quiet finally felt different. Not the quiet before punishment. The quiet after survival. Dr. Carr didn't praise me, didn't lecture me. She just asked, are you hungry? It was so normal. It almost broke me. Later, after Zoe was tucked under a blanket and my EpiPen was placed somewhere I could grab fast, I said, because politeness was still my default even when my life was on fire. Thank you. We'll find somewhere tomorrow. Dr. Carr looked at Zoe, then at me. You can stay here. Not pity. Not a suggestion.
A fact.
For tonight. I whispered. She shook her head once. Until you're stable. Until you're safe. Zoe's eyes fluttered open like she'd been listening from the edge of sleep. Can we stay? She whispered. And the scariest part was this. I still didn't know why she was doing it. Why she was so nice to us. I only knew what it felt like to imagine a morning without fear. By the way, if you're still with me on this wild ride, make sure to hit that subscribe button. More unbelievable stories like this one are coming, and you won't want to miss them. The next morning was quiet, but not peaceful. It felt like the calm after a fire. Everything still smelling faintly of smoke even if the flames were gone. Zoe slept soundly on Dr. Carr's couch, like she'd earned it. I hadn't. I sat upright, fully dressed, staring at my phone as if it might bite. No calls, no texts, no screaming from my parents. The silence felt suspicious. Dr. Carr slid a mug of coffee toward me, like it was medicine. Functional, not comforting. She sat across from me. Where do you work? Grocery store, I mumbled. Stocking mornings. And you're scheduled today? I missed it. She didn't blink. We'll call.
We.
That word landed like a key unlocking a door. She put the phone on speaker, so I couldn't hide from my own life. I explained. Weather, accident, emergency. I could come tomorrow. My manager grumbled, but the shift stayed mine. When the call ended, my shoulders dropped a fraction. Zoe wandered in, rubbing her eyes. She looked around like she expected the room to vanish. Are we still here? She asked. Yeah, baby. I kissed her forehead. We're still here. Zoe nodded. Then, are they still mad? I almost told her the truth, that my parents didn't have a mad setting. They had a permanent disappointment setting. Instead, I said, we're safe. Zoe accepted that, like kids do, like safety is a concrete fact you can hold on to. After I dropped Zoe at school, I came back and stood in Dr. Carr's kitchen like a person waiting to be yelled at. She glanced at me. You don't have to wear that face here. What face? The one that says you're bracing. I laughed once, a rough, broken sound. An old habit. She nodded, like she understood old habits too well. Then she said, matter of fact, you never finished school. My stomach tightened. No. Judy, she asked. No. She didn't ask why. She didn't lecture. She just looked at me and asked, do you want to finish? The question hit me like a slap, because I'd spent years believing I didn't get to want things anymore. I work, I said, automatically. Zoe, she's in school, Dr. Carr finished. And you're smart. That was 5 years ago. She finished my sentence. Not 50. I hated that she was right. She slid a notepad across the table. Not a motivational quote. A plan.
2 hours a night, she said.
4 nights a week. We start small. We don't negotiate with shame. I stared at the notepad like it might explode. And if I fail, I asked, my voice small. Then you take it again, she said, as if gravity were optional. That was the moment it stopped feeling cozy. It felt like rebellion. Not dramatic, furious rebellion. Quiet rebellion. The kind that looks like a grown woman opening a math book and refusing to believe the voice that says she's too late. My schedule became ridiculous. On purpose. Work early mornings, Zoe's school drop-off. Studying at Dr. Carr's table while Zoe colored beside me. Dinner, bath, Zoe's bedtime. Then another hour with a book I'd been told I didn't deserve. Some nights I wanted to quit. Not because it was hard, but because it made me angry. Angry that my parents stole my education and called it discipline. Angry that I had to rebuild what should have been mine the first time. The first time I passed a GED practice test, Zoe cheered like I'd won a championship. Mom is smart, she announced. I snorted. Mom is stubborn. When I passed the real test, I cried in my car in a parking lot, like a person with excellent emotional regulation. Zoe asked why I was crying, and I told her, happy. And she said, oh, like happy crying was normal. Then community college, because tuition doesn't care about inspirational stories. I kept my job. I took classes when I could, learning to live in the space between not enough time and do it anyway. Dr. Carr didn't rescue me with speeches. She showed up with logistics. A ride when my car wouldn't start. Babysitting when Zoe got sick and I had an exam. A calm email when a professor acted like accommodations were a moral failing. I didn't become fearless. I became practiced. Then I transferred back to State University. Walking onto campus felt like stepping into an alternate timeline, one where I hadn't been erased. And there, on a random weekday, I saw the building where future scholars used to meet. My stomach flipped so hard it felt like the past had hands. Dr. Carr didn't say anything. She just walked beside me. Student-parent life on campus was brutal. Everyone acted like you could be a perfect student if you just managed your time, as if time management included materializing childcare from thin air. I met other student moms in quiet panic, always apologizing, always one emergency away from dropping out. So I started helping. Small at first. A group chat, shared notes, babysitting swaps, a list of who can you call at midnight. Dr. Carr watched it grow, and one night, slid an envelope across her table. Funding opportunity, she said. Write a proposal. I stared. I'm not qualified. She lifted an eyebrow. You're living it. That's more qualified than most. So I wrote it. We got the grant. Then another. The first time a mom told me, this kept me enrolled. I went to the bathroom and cried for exactly 30 seconds because I still had a shift to work. Somewhere in that year, Dr. Carr's kindness started to feel less like charity and more like a choice. Zoe's drawings appeared on her fridge. Snacks Zoe liked were always in the pantry. A small toothbrush in the upstairs bathroom that hadn't been there at first. One night, Zoe fell asleep on the couch with homework on her lap. Dr. Carr covered her with a blanket and stood there for a beat too long. The question slipped out before I could swallow it. Why are you doing this? Dr. Carr didn't look at me right away. She watched Zoe breathe. I thought I had time, she said quietly. I waited. I kept postponing the family part, she added. Career, tenure, later. And then later didn't show up. Her voice remained controlled, but her hand didn't. This house has been quiet for a long time, she said. I didn't know what to do with that honesty, so I tried to lighten it a little. So, were your loud little invasion? Her mouth twitched, something like a smile. Something like that. Then she looked at me and said the part I'll never forget. I chose you, not because I needed a project, but because no child should grow up believing she's a mistake. My throat closed. I nodded because I still didn't know how to accept something good without apologizing for it. By the time graduation came, Zoe was 10, old enough to remember the storm like a scar. And Savannah was graduating too. Same university, same ceremony. My parents were there for her. Of course they were. I saw them before they saw me, and felt something old try to rise, an instinct to shrink. It didn't win. The announcer's voice boomed through the auditorium. Please welcome our student speaker and founder of the Student Parent Support Initiative, Clara Walker. I stepped into the light. Savannah was clapping. Then her hands froze midair. 2 rows behind her, my mom's face drained so fast it looked unreal. My dad leaned forward, staring as if his eyes could undo time. I reached the podium and adjusted the mic. Good evening, I said. I'm Clara Walker. I'm a graduate, and I'm a mom. Zoe sat near the front with Dr. Carr, staring up at me, holding me steady with her gaze. When Zoe was 5, I continued, my voice clear and steady. My parents looked at me and said, "We are done raising your mistake. Get out and never come back." The room went dead quiet. Heads turned, subtle at first, then sharper, towards the section where my parents sat, frozen in horror. My mom covered her mouth. My dad's hands clenched until his knuckles went white. Savannah stared hard at her lap, as if it might swallow her whole. They took my house key. I continued, my voice level. They pushed a couple of bags into my arms. They shut the door while it was snowing sideways. I didn't need to embellish it. The truth carried itself. I sat in my car with a child asking me if we were going home, I said, and I had to answer like a mother, even when I felt like a scared kid myself. You could feel the room change. People weren't politely listening anymore. They were there. And that same night, I got into a minor car accident. I paused. Nobody was hurt, I added quickly, but I remember thinking, of course. A few uneasy laughs rippled through the audience. Pain plus timing is comedy's darker cousin. The woman who got out of the other car didn't care about the bumper, I said. She asked me one question. Where are you going? I paused, letting the silence hang heavy. I said, I don't know. Silence. Heavy. Real. She took us home, I said, my voice thick with emotion. She gave us a home. I turned towards the front row. That woman is Dr. Simona Carr. Applause erupted, fast and powerful. Dr. Carr didn't stand. She just nodded once, her eyes bright. That's why this initiative exists, I said, gesturing around me. Because being smart doesn't matter if you don't have childcare. Ambition doesn't matter if one sick day can knock you out of school. And nobody should have to choose between feeding their kid and finishing a degree. I let it land. If someone has ever called you a mistake, I finished, my voice steady. They were wrong. I stepped back from the mic. The applause rose, stronger now, no longer polite. My mom was crying openly. My dad stared straight ahead, as if the floor had shifted beneath him. Savannah still couldn't lift her hands to clap. For the first time in my life, they didn't get to control the story. Afterward, they found me. Of course they did. Tears. Apologies. A sudden, desperate need to rewrite history into something softer. I didn't raise my voice. I forgive you, I told them, because I didn't want their poison in my body forever. But I'm not coming back. They tried again. Family is family. I looked at Zoe, then at Dr. Carr. No, I said quietly. Family is who shows up. And I walked away, not angry, not triumphant, just done. Because my life wasn't a punishment anymore. It was mine. Everyone loves to say, but they're your parents, until they're the ones getting thrown out in a snowstorm. I forgave them. I just didn't hand them access to my life. Reconnect or no contact. What would you choose? Tell me in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more stories that make you think.